to share with you a few tips about how do some of the merchants that we work with decide which apps to install and which apps to uninstall. And in addition, how do agencies do it? Because sometimes agencies do it for the merchant, or at least recommend it for the merchants. So in order to begin, I'll tell you a bit about myself. My name is Amos. I'm the CEO of BOA Ideas. We are a web development company, but since 2014, 2015, we started working with Shopify. And now it's really the main business that we do. And it's very nice to see how the app developer community in Israel grew since 2014. Especially in Canada in 2019, where I see some faces I saw there. It was actually supposed to be now that we were supposed to go to Canada again, so hopefully next year we will fill up a whole plane. And BOA Ideas is a company that works with merchants of all sizes. Like I said, we're a web development, so we also work with companies that, regardless of e-commerce, but our main business is e-commerce, and especially on Shopify. We are here because we're in the group, because we actually also have about 20 apps on the App Store, but that's not our main business. Our main business is to open online stores for merchants, and also all the ecosystem around it for the merchant if they need any kind of customization. So we work with, I think just somebody asked me a few 10 minutes ago how many merchants we work with. And when I say work with, it could be either a very small type of engagement, like explaining about Shopify, guiding, and it could be a full-blown development like we do for some of the brands you can see here. But in all of them, we always talk about apps. So there's a lot of insights we gather from what they're looking for in apps specifically, and also about their needs, to which then we can recommend an app to install. And this is the insights I want to share with you. So the way we see it is that it's really different types of merchants. Of course, first of all, whether it's a merchant or agency, it's a bit different. But also, if we talk about the merchant, it could be different kinds of merchants, and I'm going to talk about that. And they have different interests and different point of views. But before that, I want to talk about what is common to all of them. And from what we see, this is from our experience, the way they think about app installment is that they really are looking always, or 99% of the time, a solution for a problem. That's what they're looking for. And it's mostly, you wouldn't see them just browse around the App Store or the web looking for some great things to install on their store. It will start with a problem. They will look on Google. They will ask, maybe us, maybe Shopify, maybe Stack Overflow, places like that. Maybe not Stack Overflow. We are asking on Stack Overflow. So that's what they're looking for. And I don't know if you know that. Hopefully you do. But if you don't, you should know that, because this is how your marketing should be sent to them, either on the emails like Aryeh showed here, or on the app page, or anywhere. You need to figure out exactly what the problem your app is doing and explain it very, very thoroughly. So this is what is common to all of them. But there is a difference in the details in that. So first of all, let's talk about the merchants. Merchants, we see and we work with merchants on different sizes. Okay, it could be very big corporations, multinational corporations, all the way to small one-man show businesses. And there is a very big difference between them. And I'll start with the big ones. So I can imagine, or at least I hear sometimes, that app developers, by the way, full disclosure, we also work with app developers and help them develop apps and market apps. So we hear from them that a lot of times they're really aiming for capturing those big ones, especially if the cost for your app is expensive. It's probably meant for big merchants. But really, big merchants are the toughest crowd, the toughest audience to sell an app for. And the reason is, and this is 100% from our experience, is because they will be very, very, very picky and spoiled about what they're looking for. The solution they're looking for is almost a custom solution, which is the exact opposite of the idea of an app, right? And they will not, התפשרו? compromise, sorry, I'm excited, on any other thing that actually exactly solve the problem. Now, it's true that they would be less concerned about the budget. That's an important point. But it has to do exactly what they want, and if it doesn't do exactly what they want, they will not install it. And now, I want to say, I want to open brackets here and say something about, sometimes we get app developers that looking for design partners. So they say, hey, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to hear about your problem so we can solve it exactly to your needs. And in return, we might give it to you for free or something like that. And you should know that for the big merchants, that's not a good point. They don't care about that. What they care of is something that solves the problem. And if you are just working on the app, even if it's for free, they don't care. They're willing to spend hundreds of dollars a month if it solves the problem. If it doesn't, they will not get into it. Now, another thing about the big merchants is that usually they have IT departments. And for them, they always do the assessment. Should I install an app? Or should I just give it to my IT department or maybe the agency I work with? Again, they don't care about the budget. By the way, especially if they know that if they go to an agency, it will cost them one time. And if they go to an app, it's probably a recurring. So that's another thing they consider. Now, when they do find an app that does what exactly they want, they wouldn't care so much about the added value you might have to that problem because they only care about the thing they want. If the app does a lot of things, and that's why it costs money, okay, they'll still install it, they don't mind, they're just not gonna use all the other features. But how will they choose this app? So I think in most cases, they will not really look at the app page on the App Store. They will probably look at your website. They will want to know how serious you are, how solid you are. They will probably look for other brands, big brands that you work with. And they will look at the reviews or testimonials, but not on the App Store. They, those little 3 lines that you put on the website that keeps rotating. That's pretty much about them. And I will talk a few more words about the IT personnel later. Let's talk about the medium-sized businesses. So the medium-sized businesses, again, they're also looking for a solution for the problem, but they will be more willing to compromise. Of course, they care more about the budget. So if the app does something similar to what they need, they'll be willing to compromise. Of course, they don't have the budget to develop something custom for themselves. And they will look at your app page, certainly, 100%. And they'll do a quick scan of the number of stars. I know this is something you all care about very much. But they will also look at the reviews. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but they will look very carefully on the reviews. They can spend hours looking at the reviews if you have a lot of reviews, and especially on the 1-star reviews. Now, you shouldn't be worried about 1-star reviews so much because merchants know there are 1-star reviews. They're okay with it. They understand, especially if there's a high volume of 5-star reviews, they're okay with having 1-star reviews. You don't need to be so disappointed. But they will want to understand what was the reason for this merchant to leave a 1-star review, because they say maybe he had a problem I'm not going to have. And that's why if people leave 1-star review to your app and it's not really clear what didn't go right for them, you can respond not just by, saying what you did to solve and anything like that. You can also clarify what didn't work for this merchant, because it can help other merchants understand they shouldn't care about this 1-star review. So that's a tip for you. And they will also want, of course, everybody can understand that, a 7-day, 14-day trial to play with it and see how it works. I didn't say about the big ones. The big ones don't care about the free trial. But the medium ones will care because they want to see if this solves the problem as they think. Now let's talk about the small. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. Of course, I will have time in the end. Yeah.
What do you consider to be medium? What is...
For us as an agency, when we categorize it, then it's not a black and white decision, but I would say that if you have an IT department, you're considered big. For us as an agency, and I guess also for app developers, medium size will be the ones that have several employees, 10, but no IT department on its own. So that's how we classify it as medium. And I think for app developers, it's the same, because it's the way of thinking that changes when you don't have an IT department. And small is like 1 or 2 or 3 people. So the small ones, they will be the most price sensitive, and sometimes they will look on the collection page on the App Store only on the price. They'll not even go into an app that costs more than they're willing to spend, which usually, as you know, is several dollars a month, up to, I don't know, 15, 20. I think what Shopify has with the 29 price for license really puts you in a border of how much you can charge when it's considered for a small merchant, because a small merchant, he might say, okay, 29, I can pay that. Shopify is cheap, but they will not be willing to pay for an app more than they pay for the entire platform, right? So it's a psychological thing. If you want to try and get more money from them, you have to somehow compete with this psychological barrier. But they're one-man show, or two-man show, so they don't have so much time, actually. So if the title, the picture, the price is right, they'll install, especially if there's a free trial. And they'll play a few minutes. That's a problem, because you're going to have to right away give them a solution. So if that's your audience, you somehow need to give them like in-your-face solution already on the app page when you describe what your app is doing. By the way, also those images and the video and the demo store, I see a lot of times, and I'll talk about agencies, which is what we are, but I see a lot of times app pages that have like those animations and drawing and showing a guy in the warehouse being very upset, and then they say, "Are you very upset in the warehouse?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm upset." That doesn't tell anything to the small merchant. He wants to know what this does. So keep that in mind. And another thing I want to talk about this is the difference between who is the person that is looking for the solution and looking for the apps. Because like I said, on big merchants, it's the IT department. And on medium, even on small, it's usually a marketing related employee. And by the way, where is Aryeh? I also had a tip for you now that you talked about the email marketing. There's another thing that popped up in my mind when you talk about email marketing. If I'm not mistaken, the email goes out to the owner of the store, and that only, right? But there's two things you need to consider there. First of all, in development stores, and maybe this is something you can optimize, usually the owner of the store is the agency. And I know this because when I got, the email is mine, and I get so many emails from you guys and from the world. And, there are a few apps we install almost on every store. So I keep unsubscribing, subscribing. So keep that in mind, not because it's annoying to me, but because it might be beneficial for you. So if you notice that this store is a development store, you almost 99% can be sure that the email that you're sending to is an agency and not the merchant. And you might tweak the email to that. Vice versa, if the store is already live, you should know that sometimes the person who installed, especially now when Shopify released the new billing permission, is not the owner. It's someone else. And suddenly the owner gets this email. It has nothing to do with it. So again, not because he might consider it spam, but because you lose the benefit of emailing the actual person. I don't really know how to solve it. I'm just saying take it into consideration. So let's go back to what I was referring. Who is the person that is looking for the solution and looking for the app? If it's the IT department, and this happens mostly on big merchants, then you should know their mentality. Their mentality is, let's do as less as possible so we don't fuck it up. And that means they are very, very, very afraid to install apps, okay? Another point here is privacy. Big corporations, they have an issue with privacy. They will usually contact you, ask you to fill up some forms, GDPR forms, and all the other stuff, what are you doing with our information and things like that. So if you are trying to target these kind of audience, you need to keep that in mind. You should say, we don't save any information, sensitive information or whatever, or contact us for any privacy issues, questions, things like that. And again, like I said, they look at themselves as the defenders of the system. They prefer no marketing, even no sales, as long as the system doesn't fall and nothing happens to the system. That's all they care about. So keep that in mind. Versus the marketing people. In big corporations, but also in medium and small ones, if the person looking to install the app is coming from the marketing side, he really wouldn't care. We see stores with like 100 apps installed. You know what, even more, 200. They don't care, they just install. Sometimes they even forget to uninstall if they don't need it. They just install, they say, let's see what this does, right? So for them, maybe you should try all these animations and all these bells and whistles, because this might get them to say, hey, that's exactly what I was looking for, without even knowing what it does, right? But it's risky because they might, just as fast uninstall. So maybe this is where the email and the chasing can help, understand the value. Regarding that, I want to say for everybody, once they install the app because they think it solves the problem, only then this is where you might be able to convince them to use even more features and value that your app deliver. So for the big ones, again, they don't care. They'll install. I see people install app costs $500 only for an export of the orders that you can even do in Shopify. They don't care. But for the medium and small ones, they care about the money. So if you can identify what is the solution that you offer for most of your customers, you can do, I'm probably not telling you anything new here. You can do this as a basic level pricing for the app, because you want them to install, and they will install if it's the right price. But then offer them extra features now that you're in their store, inside their store. Any questions about that before we move to agencies? Much more.
Do you see any difference between free app and freemium? I mean, between free trial and freemium? In terms of conversion rate?
I don't know if I don't know the reason, but free trial works better in my experience.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, do we see any difference between a free trial model and a freemium model, where you can use the app forever for free unless you need something? So I may be guessing here, but it seems to me like people understand that features and values cost money. So if it's absolutely free and then more feature costs more money, I don't think, it's just a guess. They don't relate to this so much. In bottom line, I see free trial works better. They feel like, show me what you are offering, tell me how much it costs, but let me play with it for free for a while with the complete version, and then I'll decide if I use it and pay for it or not. Maybe that's why they like it better.
Just an important note about that. Recently we changed our app from free to pay. Now when you don't have any free plan, the subtitle is a 14 days trial. And we saw a huge drop in the installs. So we added a free plan, which is just like up to 20 monthly orders, just so the subtitle says free plan available. So it's like you're not losing anything, but you get a much higher CPM and much more installs. Also, people with more than 20 orders.
Okay, so that's a good experience that you're sharing, but I guess also the question is, with this drop, how much non-paying customers you lost? Because if it's non-paying customers anyway, then it's not a big deal, right? But I assume you know what you're doing, so yeah.
But it means that you still have free customers.
But free customers up to 20 orders, anyway, these customers were not counting on them to become the paying customers. 20 orders per month is a very low amount. And by the way, we could put it even 2 orders just for the concept. But you want the subtitle to say free plan available and not 14 days trial. Yeah.
If it says free plan available, at least for the merchants we work with, and I think I started saying, but I didn't complete the sentence. We in the last 7 years, since 2014, we work with almost 1,500 merchants, and again, different kind of what we work with. It might be what you're saying, that they see the sentence and they install and they click on it and look inside. But I can tell you from my experience, they don't care about the free plan. They care about the solution for the problem, and they're willing to spend, even the small ones, they're willing to spend. They don't expect it to be free. And okay, any other questions about merchant? You can also ask later.
Are you suggesting to target the app to a specific merch level, or can we enjoy all the world?
So that's a good point. I wanted to say it in the beginning that you probably already have apps and you already know who your target audience is, because we can have a different discussion about how to source problems to solve. We have a lot of experience in that, of course. But if you already have an app, then either you already know who your audience is. Maybe this app is specifically for small ones or for big ones. I think if your app costs $400 a month, obviously only big ones will think about installing it. If it's something that can work for all of them, then what you can do is approach all of them and give each one what they're looking for. So for example, your website, which is extremely important, should probably talk more to the big ones. Because the small ones will look you on the App Store and not on your website. But the big ones will not look on your App Store, they will look on your website. So this way you can differentiate. Now it doesn't have to be, again, black or white. You can talk about several things on your website and several things on your App Store page, but you need to see how you make the people go to where you talk about what interests them. It's not that easy. Yeah, any other question? Okay. So, agencies, which is obviously our first experience. First of all, I will say this. Merchants that work with agencies, I'm sorry, I'm not being modest here, they consider them God. Whatever they say, they will do. If we tell a merchant this is a bad app, they will not install it. They will simply not install it. If we tell them that's the best app ever, they will install it. Now, we take a lot of responsibility because if they install it and then they don't enjoy it, then we're screwed. But as long as we give the good recommendation, this carries on all the time. And it's not 100%, but it's almost always like that. So you should take that into consideration. I wanted to say it's quite difficult for you to know which merchants work with agencies and which are not. But like I said, when Arya spoke, I thought about it that maybe that's one way. Because if you see install on the dev store, and I think it's possible to see that, right? Then you know it's an agency and you know who is the agency. So first of all, stop spamming them. But secondly, you can then give them different content. So what would agency look for? So first of all, again, like everybody, they will look for solution for the problems. And it could be either a problem that the merchant approached to them, asking them, can you solve this to us? And then they will look for a solution there. Or it could be something that we already do ourselves and we hate doing and we hate maintaining. So we find a good app that does it. I can give you a few examples later if you want. And then it's sort of like we will add this app to our recommended list of apps. It's usually an internal list, and it's kind of like the playlist in Galgalatz. You want to be on that list. So yeah, first of all, what it does. Secondly, as agency that usually is has a development side. We are mostly development, but some agency have marketing and development. Anyway, we will look at, the quality of the app, you know what I mean? The quality already on the app page and the website, but also the look and feel of the app. If it doesn't look so good, we as agencies who work with a lot of apps and also does development ourselves will start to think maybe also on the behind the scene, it doesn't work so well. And we will be and you should know that, we will be very, very afraid to recommend such an app to our merchants. So take care of that and make sure it doesn't have to look like, the most modern thing in the world, but it has to look sleek. And I think with Shopify Polaris, for example, if it's easy for you to use, then this could be a very, very quick thing for you to do to make your app look very professional and not make us scared. After we see that, we will probably want two things. One is that we would not look usually on your website unless it's a big app, but the app page, for us at least, should be very, very, very clear. Should be, sharp, to the point. What this does, how it does it. A lot of times we see an app that would do what we think it should do, but we just don't understand. And yes, we can install it, and we're going to talk about it in a second, and we can try it. And if it's something on the front end, there's usually a demo store we can try. But we will be like, now I need to install an app, now I need to demo it. We would care about the text on the app page and the video and the images. We will look at screenshots right away. So if it's good screenshots, if it shows the app, sometimes you will just show a small screen, you cannot even see what it says, and a lot of ribbons around it. We don't know what it does, and we will probably look for something else before, and only if we don't find it, we'll come back to this one and install it. So take that into consideration. The second thing is the free trial. There is a way for app developers to make sure that dev stores, which is agencies, can install the app and use it for free without a free trial. And this is very important because sometimes we will install the app on one of our stores, play with it a little bit, see it's fine, it looks good. Now we want to show it to the customer, and it's already past the free trial. We're not going to pay just to show it to the customer. So try to make your apps what is called developer friendly, totally free for developers. maybe take out something out of it if you're afraid, but if it's a dev store, there's nothing to be afraid of. And then the last thing that is very, very important to agencies, and especially if we work with big customers, is that you'll be responsive for questions, and mostly technical questions. We would sometimes want to either customize something in your app. It doesn't mean you have to change your app for this one merchant, but maybe you have some sort of API or some sort of other ways to, maybe you save something on Shopify so we can pull it from there. So then we can work together, This is very, very important. Even if it's not possible, be responsive. Say it's not possible. Say it's on the roadmap or something. I don't know. We would really care about that. And then the last point, which I'm sure you can think of yourself, is that I'll phrase it this way, if we find two apps that does exactly the same, work exactly the same, cost exactly the same, we will look for the affiliation fee. And on that, I want to say, if you do offer a partnership on your app for agencies or for anyone, even if you would offer a high percentage, 40%, I would say 50, just to be exaggerating. If it's going to be difficult and a headache to join your program and, to sign up and fill some forms and send an email and get a code that we then need to put somewhere, whatever, we would prefer to install the one with the 5% affiliation fee if it's simpler, We don't care. We're not going to make our living from that. This is just nice to have. So if you do plan on enticing agencies to recommend your app due to partnership programs and affiliation, don't care so much about how much money you offer. Care more about how simple it is to make money out of it, because we just install and forget it. Any questions about agencies? No question? Okay. We have some time? No, we're past the 20 minutes. Okay, so I will just leave you with this. Feel free to contact me anytime you want. If you want questions or any other thing, we can cooperate. Thank you so much.